Jeff Morty, of course, as always, as we start the show, we look at the big stories of the day therein. We love your feedback on them as well, and you get some analysis as to what this really means as we dig a bit deeper into those headlines right here. Of course, you can get yourself a copy of the People Daily straight to your phone. We tell you this every single morning. It's convenience at a touch of a button. The number that you dial is star 550 star 4 hash. Once again, the number is star 550 star 4 hash. Dial that number and get yourself a copy of the People Daily straight to your phone. And right here on the show, you could walk away with 250 shillings worth of airtime. All you need to do is take a screenshot of your downloaded e-paper, send it to the WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen, and I'll send you 250 shillings worth of airtime, all courtesy of the People Daily and Safaricom. So the number that you dial, star 550 star 4 hash. As you download that copy of your e-paper, this is a headline you get this morning straight to your phone. How Magoha team failed schools test. Return to sender, the PD says. President rejected recommendations as they were too general to ensure learner safety. Talking about universities, CS announces higher learning resumes from Monday, October the 5th. Those details on that particular story can be found in your copy of your People Daily on page 4. Also in the PD, Ruto's delicate balance as he shapes 2022 bid and defies boss. Deputy President's absence during the COVID National Conference has set tongues wagging on what next after latest snub of a state event. The details of that and the big question as to where he was during that particular event can be found in your copy of your People Daily on page 6 therein. Patients in pain after doctors down tools. This is an issue that has been there for quite a while. Talking about CBAs that haven't been honored. How do we move forward from this particular impasse with this critical docket as far as health is concerned? And that is critically in focus on page 2 of your People Daily today. Also, angry MPs summon pollster right there, of course, trying to get to the bottom of these particular issues. Parliament summoning and trying to get the answers, even as we move closer to yet another election. You can find the story as well on page 2 of your People Daily this morning. On the front page of the Daily Nation now, why Uhuru refused to open schools, inadequate measures to protect learners from COVID-19, the possibility of another closure were things to go through, were things to go wrong, and a potential backlash from parents forced President's last-minute decision to keep primary and secondary schools shut. Final year college students to report back from next week, though, and the details on that can be found as well in your copy of your Daily Nation. And even as we talk about that, many people regarding COVID, looking at COVID-19 and thinking that the curve has actually flattened. The Daily Nation pointing out that we shouldn't lower our guards just yet. You can get the details of that even as the President partially reopens the country, but there is a fear of a possible second wave, and you can get those details on page 6 of your Daily Nation. Even as you look at that, they're talking about a defiant Ruto. Deputy President gave COVID conference a wide berth despite State House quote-unquote invite. Was he rebelling or playing politics? That's a story that you can find as well in your copy of your Daily Nation, and that is on page 5 therein. Even as we look at that, inside the 63 billion shilling MES heist, how mafia cartels executed hospital equipment scandals. This has been an issue they've been trying to get to the bottom of for quite a while. And even as the finger pointing takes place, the big question really is how do you move forward from this particular issue? Because in principle, sounded good, but in practicality, lots of questions asked. That story is on page 10 and 11 of your Daily Nation this morning. Front page of the Standard now, Ruto goes wild, says the Standard this morning. Deputy President takes fight to his boss a day after skipping state function, dares critics to bring it on. As you can see there, there was an event happening at his current residence. This video has since gone viral, I'm sure, of him carrying this particular personality and him also being carried on a wheelbarrow. Get the details of that right there. And a couple of quotes as well from this particular event. Deputy President William Ruto talking about being in a hustler's mansion and all that happened right there. I'm giving notice it is not going to be business as usual where we talk tribes, however difficult and uncomfortable it will be. That from the DP at this particular event, and you can get the details of that in your copy of your Standard. Also in the Standard, the riddle of Saiton. Where's the money? Edwin Dande bagged billions from eager investors with a promise of mega returns. Now investors are running to court to get their money back as the fund battles a cash crunch. It's been quite an issue of debate right there for those who had invested their money in this organization. And you get the details of that as well in the copy of your Standard on page 2 therein. Finally, we look at the front page page of your Star. Yatani stops public service recruitment. Ministries, departments must get Treasury approval for new jobs, even internships. This has to go all the way to the top. The Treasury CS temporarily freezing employment for 3 years because of the wage bill therein. You get the details of that particular story in your copy of your Star. But also in the Star, Uhuru allies tell Ruto to quit as DP donates wheelbarrows. Again, another picture of that particular event that took place at the DP residence in Karen right there. And really that is shaping into what could be a real political hot potato, not only for the political landscape, but for the ruling party as well. So these are the headlines that you're waking up to this morning as you look at that. But also, even as you talk about that, and this story can be found on page 2 of your People Daily therein, as MPs demand more information on the pollster and the InfoTrack poll that was released over the weekend and the ratings of MPs. That's what we're discussing right here, talking about MPs and their performance so far, independent of the rating. We want to know what you think about that as well. We'll be having that discussion right here on the show. Welcome to the show. This is KTT4 This Morning. Of course, even as you look at that, we love it when you are part of this particular conversation. We love to hear from you. You can get me on Twitter at I am Jeff Mote or at K24TV. We have a question of the day. Let's have that up on screen as well. You can chime in on this conversation. What has been your MP's biggest success or failure? We want to see both of them. What has been your MP's biggest success or failure? Tell us where you are, tell us your MP as well, and what you feel is the biggest success or failure. We're talking about MP's performance and their scorecard so far. This also triggered by the poll that was done by InfoTrack over the weekend, putting into critical focus the role of your MP in your area. So once again, we'd like to know your MP's biggest success or failure as we discuss that right here on the show. And let me get to my panel in studio, even as we get into this particular discussion. It's been a while, we haven't seen him for a bit, but he's back after his brief hiatus. Arnold Maliba, he's a public policy analyst. Good morning, Arnold.
Morning, Jeff.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I can see in true form and fashion you have your sticky notes and your pencil. You're good to go.
Very, very ready to go.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
We're also joined by Ambassador Esther Waringa. She's the founder of the Public Service Governance. Good morning, Balozi.
Good morning.
Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for having for making time to be on the show as well.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's just jump right into it right now as we look at the big stories of the day. As it stands right now, lots of questions being asked. Is this great cloud hanging over the August House's head dissolved or not? Is this the time to do it or not? Let's start from there as you look at it. And a very interesting perspective you had, Ambassador. Let me start with you. Do you think the solution is to dissolve Parliament? After we saw the scorecard that was given over the weekend, we sent them packing. They go home right now?
Thank you very much. Yes, good morning, viewers. I'm honored to be here at K24 this morning. My name is Ambassador Esther Waringa, the founder and president of Public Service Governance. And in Public Service Governance, we are promoting good, accountable, responsible, and peaceful leadership in the Republic of Kenya. And to come to your question is that actually it's long overdue. Because if we are to learn Kenya as a corporate institution, these people could be home. Because as the chief executive of any organization, once the performance threshold of any staff, of any employee is below your target, then all that you do, you just give a warning letter and send that person home. Right. Unfortunately, our system, our elective system, our democratic system does not allow us to send these people home just like this. Because in a corporate setup, you just give a warning letter. First warning, they fail to deliver. Second warning, third warning, they go home. But now we have seen at the Senate, we have been going through so much impeachment of the governors, and there are processes that are taking quite a huge amount of the taxpayers' money. Now, the bottom line is they have not delivered according to the Wanjiko's expectation. So for me and for public service governance, as we are promoting good, responsible leadership, they just have to go home. And actually, it's not only for the bicameral parliament, for the Senate and for the national parliament. No, even the governors, we are seeing situations where they are not really delivering according to our expectations. We have seen so much failure at the county level. We have seen lack of accountability at the county level. We have seen lack of integrity and responsibility. Actually, they have not realized our benchmark for good leadership at the county level. So, come to our MCAs. Last week, we had MCAs fighting. I don't know whether it was Bugoma or where.
Migori.
Yeah, Migori. Where is our integrity gone as leaders? Where is our responsibility gone? Where is our role modelship? That we are we role models? When we see MCAs fighting in houses of parliament, and they're the ones who are supposed to set the standards of leadership at their jurisdiction level, at the ward level. They're the ones who are supposed to be role models. They're the ones who are supposed to give services to the people. Then, what are they doing in our houses of parliament? So for me, with all due respect to all elected representatives, it is time actually to dissolve the entire elected representation in the Republic of Kenya. And one would ask, when we send the entire elected representation home, as the CJ Maraga put it, we don't necessarily need to go to another elections as a country. Number one, as an economy, we are hurting. Downward trend of our economy is telling us and is sending very powerful signals that this is not the time to start spending money anyhow. It is time that any coin that the government spend must be taken to accountability. Therefore, we don't actually need another election. What we need now to birth in the Republic of Kenya is public service-driven governance, service-driven leadership, service-driven budget formula. I wonder why the Senate had to stay all that time. All that Wanjiko need at the ward level is services. Therefore, all that we need, service-driven formula, service-driven budgets. Therefore, in this regard, I would like to say that the country is ready to give the development mandate of the nation to the ministries of government only. Yes, we can. What we saw yesterday at the Kenyatta National Hospital, people dying, it was so painful, it was so hurting to this country. What is supposed to happen, or what's supposed to be done, or the solution that we can propose today is that the doctors, all the money that we spend in elections, all the money that we spend to pay the parliaments, the elected representatives, the governors, and their luxurious lifestyles, all that money must be taken now and be sent to go and streamline the public service. We want to pay doctors well. We want to pay teachers well. We have now realized as a country how much important our teachers are. When we see young girls getting pregnant, when we see our youth are into drugs, who are supposed to be students, we get to salute teachers in this the Republic. Therefore, all the money that we are using to buy BVL kits, to campaign in this country, to sustain political parties, now must be geared towards paying our people who are working for Wanjiko, our teachers, our agriculturists, our geologists, our nurses, our doctors. These are the people that we are supposed to ensure that we give them a conducive working environment. Okay, otherwise, the elected representatives have failed the country, and it's time for them to go home. Let me say,
that's one second, I'll come back to you on that, because you raised something very interesting as well.
Thank you.
Arnold, when you talk about dissolution of parliament as it stands right now, feasible? It seems like it's taken a back burner. We're talking about it and then it's receded in our memory for now. But do you think once it comes back, because it's the corridors of justice, can we bear that moving forward, or do we just wait until 2022?
Well, first of all, like she said, dissolving parliament is long overdue. We've really bought time. And I'm speaking strictly on the premises of Article 27, as it were. We've really given them grace period. They were supposed to enact these laws as way back as 2016. 2016 was supposed to be the Article 100 and Article 27 year. That was never done. They've gone round and round and round and round, and that has not happened. So if anyone ever says that Maraga never gave them time, they're actually not being honest, because there has been a lot of grace period for them to actually go around this. And they've just gone around these laws. They've passed all manner of shenanigans as laws, but this particular one, they refuse to actually work around that. So I think it's long overdue. Whether it is effective or not is another question. Because whether we dissolve it now or not, up to 70% of them will go home in 2022. So, but the good thing is that the advisory by Maraga, whether it's challenged or not, has actually reminded members of parliament of what they are supposed to do. Because somehow, all of them focus on the CDF, the NGCDF, and forget essentially why we have got a parliament in the first place. Because a parliament should be, number one, about representation, and representation is about your voice. When you see a parliament seated, you should be able to see a representation of the nation. That is not what we've been seeing. So, whereas parliament has broken laws repeatedly to protect the executive, I'm really waiting to see if the executive this time around will break laws to protect parliament. So, It's a difficult call. It's not an easy one. But I know it has invited us to a conversation like the one we are having now. Like, has Parliament really lived up to the billing of what we expected of them? Can they really go home? One of those things I would really want to see is actually if we are able to send Parliament home, not necessarily because they are terrible, because every time we've elected, we bring in people like them. But then to teach a generation of the leaders who come thereafter that it is not easy for them to have their way always. And when they are here, there should be some level of accountability. Because you realize in this country, once somebody is elected, the only other time you can actually get hold of that person onto accountability is during the next election. Between that, there's a lot of impunity and people feel like they're infallible, you cannot do without them, and they can get away with anything, literally anything. So these are some of those measures. The problem is that the Constitution 2010 is coming to life, in my opinion, way too late, especially on checks and balances, as we really had envisioned.
Okay. Yeah. Ambassador, let me get you back in on this one, because you spoke that as MPs are concerned, they failed and they haven't met the expectations of Wanjiku. Absolutely. What does Wanjiku expect once they get you into office as MP of Kijabe Street? What are they expecting you to do for them?
Thank you. Number one, what Wanjiku expected is to uphold leadership and integrity. That is one, chapter 6. But I tell you that this constitution, especially chapter 6, have been taken into the dustbin. Nobody is considering chapter 6 especially, where it is telling us that the leadership or the elected leadership must demonstrate respect for the people. When we see hate speech, when we see people calling others names, and we have seen it, of course, even with our cabinet, I must say that because it is real, people calling each other names. When we see that these people are not bringing honor to the nation, this is according to chapter 6, and dignity to that office. We are not seeing this dignity. All we are seeing is leaders who are supposed to be role models, throwing words to each other. Therefore, what Wanjiku expected is that Wanjiku requires roads to be done. I recently watched on our media roads in Nyandarua County, roads in Turkana, roads in upper part of actually where, I think Rokichogo somewhere, impassable roads in this country. Wanjiku expected that she would be able to sell her farm produce because she would be able to drive or to probably to have good conducive environment, especially on infrastructure, to sell her produce. That did not come around. Water. Today as we talk, we are going, the country is already suffering a crisis, water crisis. You go to Madera, Moyale, and the northern part of Kenya. Women up today are still carrying jerrycans, walking kilometers and kilometers away, I mean from their homes to go and look for water. Wanjiku expected that she would get water right at her homestead. Number 3, Wanjiku expected, and beside even Wanjiku, our school children, they expected that they will have good learning, conducive environment in schools for quality, for quality education. Unfortunately, our children up to date. Recently, I was in some parts of Garissa, rural Garissa, and I'm telling you that children are learning under trees in a public schools. In a public school, and I engaged one of the teachers, and he was telling me he's now 6 months down the line, not having paid, not received any government coin. It was very, very unfortunate. The good thing is that I was connected to UNICEF, and we had to organize some maths, some learning materials, and all that. Where are our elected leaders when all this is happening in the country? When we see that today unga is costing 150. When we see sugar that we are producing, our farmers are producing maize, and we are buying all these commodities at very high prices. When we see a country where we are mining oil in Turkana, and the coal, we are exporting everything instead of expanding our refineries, our Mombasa refineries and other places that can be able to give us the finished end product so that we also export the finished end products to be able to grow our economy. We are not doing that. We are exporting everything. Now, a government that has failed to do all this, what shall we do with it? We send it home very quickly. It has failed. When Wanjiku is crying.
Balozi, yes. Members of Parliament might say, that's not our purview. You should be talking to the cabinet, you should be talking to your president. No. They come up with policy, they execute. Yes. We oversight what they're doing. So if you don't have an imaginative cabinet, we can't be blamed for not exporting coal or exporting oil. It's really above our pay grade.
But remember, most of the time the buck stops with them. They are the lawmakers of this country. They have the power vested upon them to be able to make laws, that will be able to give us benchmarks, that will be able to give us a conducive environment for all this that I'm talking about. For sugar production, they are the ones who should give us laws that sugar in this country should not go beyond 70 shillings. So I would say even them, they have failed. As much as also the cabinet have failed, even the members of parliament has failed. Now, what is the country calling for? A total paradigm shift. We must come to our senses as a country. We are almost now in the international limelight because of poor governance in the Republic of Kenya. And believe me, we are not saying this to be able to make or to probably make a few of us smile. No. This is not about who is who. But from the top leadership to the lowest leadership, that is the MCA, question marks are all over. What is happening with our delivery of services from the national level to the world level? Let me ask you, who came to the rescue of the patients who were in Kenyatta National Hospital yesterday when they were going through pain, they were going through turmoil, and all our nurses are in the streets singing songs, and because they have not been enumerated as it is supposed to be. Did we see any politician? Did we see any cabinet minister when we needed them? Until one of our Kenyans died in Kenyatta National Hospital. Allow me to say, if I had a whip today, I would whip everybody who the buck stops in terms of leadership of this country. They would go home tonight. And we bring selfless leaders who are not about the salaries that they want. No, 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 no. We want selfless leaders who are ready to serve the humanity, the people of the Republic of Kenya, with that God-given heart, that I am a cabinet minister for agriculture because I'm serving God's humanity. Therefore, I must ensure that in this country, every family has food on the table. Okay, but now, unfortunately, leaders are about, let me finish, leaders are about my stomach, how much money am I getting out of COVID, how much am I getting out of the children going back to school and the desk. Come on, as an economy, we must take a break. We must pause, evaluate, and eliminate systems.
I can see the passion coming from your debate right there. I want to take some feedback on this as well, and then I'll come to Arnold. Of course, the question you are asking right now is, even as we have a debate going on the floor of the House concerning the performance record of MPs, I want to know from where you stand, your MP, what's the biggest success or failure? What has been your MP's biggest success or failure? Send us your feedback, your thoughts, your comments on the WhatsApp number at the bottom of the screen. We have a couple of messages right here. Let's look at some of those even as we continue with this particular conversation. Hi, this is Oyugi. My MP is Shadrach Mose Mogetutu Basaba. He has completely done nothing at all. He is now not the man we used to see selling manifestos. He has done zero work. Okay, let's have another message up. On the ranking of MPs, let them accept the results. Only those in tail bottom complain. My MP is ranked 200 plus and the verdict was even fair. His CDF office has been dishing out bursary checks for a fee. Roads are poorly done by his own companies. K24 can confirm this survey by running another online survey. Okay, we have one more. I'm James Okengo from South Mugirango constituency in Kisii County. My MP is Silvana Sosoro. He was ranked position 90 in the country and position 2 in our county. He has done more than any of those who have served in that seat. Okay, so that I think is some success as far as Honorable Osoro is concerned. Arnold, I'll come to you on this one as well. We have 3 minutes before we get to our break. And as you can see right there, and even as we have this discussion, as you go and vote for Arnold or Esther, who you want in office, you said the problem is the voters. Do they understand what job description is there for the person they're putting in office?
First of all, it's important to actually mention that democracy is the worst form of government, except all others.
Thank you.
Except all the others. That it's not perfect. It's work in progress. I'll give you an example of my own member of parliament up country in Matungu constituency. He was rated last in Western Kenya. As in not just last in Kakamega, but last in the entire of Western Kenya. And I will tell you that the rating was actually very fair. If you were to go on the ground and you look even at social media, impassable roads, literally the guy is a ghost MP. He's a ghost worker. You don't see him. Even if you met him in the streets, I'll tell you, Jeff, you might not know that this is a member of parliament. He never speaks, never does anything. The guy went missing. So I still feel like the rating was quite fair. But as usual, the Kenyan way, of course, you have heard about claims of bribery. In this country, if you do not win a process, you bastardize the process so that it comes off like it's there has been bribery. Now members of parliament are calling these others, or rather they are calling the pollster and the others. And there is all manner of stuff, so that then the process cannot be trusted, and we forget about the rating. But if you look at the rating properly, honestly, it was looking at what is on the ground. It engaged people. And if you realize, even from the feedback you're having, it's fairly representative. Because the guys, you are not the pollster here. You have just put up a question and you are getting feedback. It so much looks like what the pollster said. So one time too many polls are actually a reflection of who we are. Now, as a voter, I will still go back to the voter, because that's where the solution is. An old man said that we have seen our enemy and he is us. It looks like victim blaming, but the truth is that sometimes it's too difficult to take care of runaway corruption, the bad leadership we have, if we do not speak to the voter. Because even the Constitution opens up that all sovereignty belongs to the people of Kenya, right? So when we talk about sovereignty, we are talking about the people. You know, outside of going live, we were having a conversation here. And I told her that somehow, if you realize, since 2002, every time we have done elections, the first agenda in the first 2 months of parliament, a new parliament coming in, and remember, we drop almost 67 to 70% of members of parliament who come in. Like the guys who are in parliament, almost 200 of them will not make it back. But when they come in, somehow since the year 2002, if you realize, and you can check, that the first demonstrations in the streets has always been about trying to prevent members of parliament from adding their salaries. So somehow it is almost cyclic. It's almost predictable that in 2022 or 23, the first demo you expect in the streets will be about members of parliament trying to actually add their salaries. So it means that the process is the same. It brings in the same, as in even if we do away with this kind of copies we have, we do the same process, and we bring in these people who look like the others we actually have chased out. So you will say there is a spirit in parliament that once you get in, it strikes you and turns you into a feces of sorts. But like I said, I don't want to blame the leaders. Can we look at the voter? Because we are the solution. We are the problem and we are the answer. We have not done sufficient civic education. I hear people talking about civic education. Civic education is not enough. Have we done political education? Human beings are inherently selfish. That is one thing we actually have to start with. So we must have a constitution or a culture where even the worst among us can actually lead us and not break the law.
Let's take a short break at that particular point in time. As you come back after the break, of course, interesting solution being put forward. Probably it's time we do away with elections altogether and elective posts. How does that work and how does that reality look like? We'll discuss that and more after the break right here. Don't forget, you can also get yourself a copy of your People Daily. It is only 10 shillings. The number that you dial is *550 *4#, and you get yourself a copy of a PD straight to your phone, courtesy of the People Daily and Safaricom. Short break, back with more, and of course your feedback right here as we discuss the MP's performance card. How well are they doing? How badly are they doing? Discuss that right here on the show.